400 years.
Good. But looking very fresh.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You started off here, at least your first visit here, I think, was on the folk circuit, the folk singing circuit in the 60s, wasn't it?
Yes, that's so.
Many, I mean, several of your songs have been written around it. But I mean, have you many happy memories or miserable memories of it?
Oh, no, absolutely happy. I lived with a family, the McCauslands, in Essex. I met their oldest son when I was hitchhiking through France. And I came back and lived here in 1964 and a lot of 1965. We lived out in Brentwood. And I began to play in little folk clubs, and that's really where I learned the craft of performing. And a lot of the early Simon and Garfunkel songs and hits, like Homeward Bound, and they're really about my travels in England. Homeward Bound was about a trip I took to Liverpool. So, yes, they were very, very happy.
Those were the days of Beatlemania and, of course, swinging London and the swinging 60s here. It must have been an exciting time to be being part of the music.
Oh, it was a perfect time to be here. It was so exciting. When I first came, they said, "Have you heard of this group called the Beatles?" And I mean, of course, I hadn't. And I thought, the Beatles. I said, well, I said only the English would come up with that pun, the Beatles. I said, this can't really.
These guys will never make it. But you'd had, when you were in high school, long before you came to the folk circuit, you'd had a sort of minor hit, hadn't you? Was that working with Art Garfunkel, a pair called Tom and Jerry, hadn't you? You had a hit.
Yes, we did. When we were 15 years old, we made our first record. That's how long I've been recording and writing. Yes, it was a minor hit nationally, but actually in New York City, which is our hometown, it was a top 10 hit. So I was sort of the star of my high school. Very pleasant to be when you're 15, 16 years old, the star of your high school. Or maybe you were, so maybe you know.
No. Very quiet boy used to sit in the back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
he used to put me sitting in the back.
I see. Yeah. Well, should you ever return to high school, I recommend you do it as a star.
Yeah, life is easy. Were the teachers better to you because you were a star, or did they even know about it? Or did that give you your first taste of stardom and make you eager for it?
Well, you know, I wanted to be a rock and roll singer and writer from about the age of 12, although I never told anybody that, particularly my father, who was a musician and was opposed to rock and roll as a musical form. So I knew that at quite an early age, although I didn't envision that this would be my life's career. But yes, at a very early point in time. How about you?
Yeah. That was such a long answer, I've forgotten the question.
At what point did you know that you wanted to sit and talk to people and earn your living that way?
Well, it's scarcely a living, Paul, but...
That's not what I heard.
Grimsby and do a show at the folk club that night and then get back to the East End. They're very sweet memories.
I returned to the United States in December of 1965. after living a year here in England. And I went back because The Sounds of Silence had become a big hit, you see. So I returned. So, but I had to make this like adjustment, this transition from being sort of relatively unknown in England to being semi-famous type scene in the States, you see. And wow, there's ghosts on the stage, man.
You know what happened? The string popped out by itself. That's what it looks like anyway. I see the peg just jumped right up.
Yeah, so here I am back in the States, and very depressed, really very down with the whole scene, and all the songs I was writing, same category, down. Until like last June, I started to swing out and get into a better mood. One day, I'm coming over like the 59th Street Bridge in New York, and very groovy day it was, about 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, and it's one of those times when you know you're not going to be tired for about an hour. Good times. So I started writing this song, which later became the 59th Street Bridge song, or Feelin' Groovy.
Now, that last song that we heard there, Mrs. Robinson, I mean, that has changed the image of Mrs. Robinsons all over the world. So do they constantly come up to you and say,
It doubled our audience. We were popular before that came out, but in the late 60s, when The Graduate presented Mrs. Robinson, suddenly all kinds of people knew us. The cops knew us. The truck drivers would honk their horn at us.
Really?
We doubled our audience from that film.
Brilliant. And when you hit the dizzy heights of fame as Simon and Garfunkel, I mean, surprisingly, even though you were massive, it didn't last that long, did it? Because in 1970, you split.
I guess we did. Who knew?
Yeah.
We were popular with 5 albums in the second half of the 60s, and that is the Simon and Garfunkel career.
And you know, when you compare your solo stuff then to Simon and Garfunkel stuff, can you be objective? Or is it quite...
No.
No?
I like to think I'm outside of it and I can look at it. I know that Simon and Garfunkel is way more popular than my solo work, but I have made 12 solo albums and I sing good without fault.
Did it hold you back at all when you and Art split up and he went into acting and you continued writing on your own?
Well, I didn't have the same amount of success that Simon and Garfunkel had, but I was the writer for Simon and Garfunkel, and I continued to write songs, and I did have hits in the ensuing years. So, no, it didn't really hold me back. I never enjoyed the same amount of absolute mass popularity that Simon and Garfunkel had, but it was satisfying to me as an artist.